A development tonight in a heartbreaking story that captivated the nation and one that we brought you in-depth coverage here on NewsNation Prime. The Gabby Petito case could now be heading to a courtroom next year. A trial date of August 2023 has now been set in the civil lawsuit filed by Gabby's parents against the parents of her ex-fiancé, Brian Laundrie, the Laundries. Brian was at the center of a nationwide search after Gabby vanished while they were on that cross-country road trip. And their story and her disappearance gained national attention by documenting the trip on social media.
Hello, and good morning.
But what started out as an exciting adventure for this young couple, as we know now, ended in tragedy. Brian returned home to Florida without Gabby last September, sparking that search for the 22-year-old blogger. A week later, Gabby's body was found in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. And then in October, Brian's remains were found in a Florida reserve after an extensive search. Authorities say he died from a self-inflicted single gunshot wound. And in a journal found near his body, investigators say Brian admitted to killing Gabby. Daveehrenberg is a state attorney in Florida, and he has been following this case with us since the very beginning. Dave, always good to see you back. This lawsuit from Gabby's parents, they claim that the Laundries knew that Brian killed Gabby, and they are seeking damages for intentional infliction and emotional distress. Do they have a case?
Good evening, Marnie. It's a tough one. They should be fortunate to survive a motion to dismiss. That's the first step, and that is what the Laundrie parents have filed, which is just to get rid of the lawsuit where it doesn't go to a jury at all. So they first have to survive that, which means they have to show that they could recover in a case like this, that this kind of case, if you assume all the allegations are true, would be an intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, I think they may survive the motion to dismiss, but winning in the end will be really difficult because you've got to establish that there was a duty here which was breached. And what is the duty that the Laundrie parents have to Gabby's parents? Well, Gabby's parents are saying you have a duty to tell us what happened to Gabby. You have a duty not to lie to us. It'll be up to a jury ultimately to decide if it gets that far.
Right. And do they have to prove that? And how do you prove that? I mean, okay, you can say it was your duty to tell us, and they could say we didn't know.
Right. You have to show, if it gets past a motion to dismiss, you have to show at trial that, that there was something in the law that says that they had a duty to the parents. Now, the defense, you already see it, is that the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination meant that Brian's parents can stay silent. There is no duty to talk, but that only applies to criminal charges. That protects them against criminal charges. It doesn't protect them against a civil lawsuit. But there may not be a duty to have to affirmatively talk. Gabby's parents have said that Brian's parents ghosted them, like they blocked the Petito parents from Facebook, from messaging them on their cell phones. But is there a duty to respond to them? I mean, there's a moral duty, an ethical duty. Any decent person would have done it. But under the law, is there a duty? And then it gets even worse because they said not only did they breach their ethical or legal duty, they also actually lied. In paragraph 25 of the lawsuit, it says that Brian's parents went beyond staying silent. They actually affirmatively lied by saying, we hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and she's reunited with her family. Well, that's a crucial part of the lawsuit because that's what they're saying was outrageous and caused them extreme emotional distress.
The other thing that caught my attention, Dave, is, I mean, in addition to a court date being set, the Petito said there's more evidence that they want presented. They said that they have more information that would come out in court. I think back to when police investigating the case released kind of a one-page document of the investigation, and we all went, well, that's it? After months of searching, this is all we've got. Unless this goes to court, the evidence that they may be talking about, will that ever see the light of day?
No, they say they can prove the allegations, and there were two explosive allegations in this lawsuit. Number one, that Brian told his parents that he had killed Gabby. And second, that Brian's parents helped Brian attempt to flee. And those would be really important to prove. But in the end, that latter one about the fact or the allegation that Brian's parents tried to help him flee the country, that really doesn't have any relevance, I think, to the cause of action here, the lawsuit. The lawsuit is about intentional infliction of emotional distress. Whether or not Brian's parents try to help him flee wouldn't seem to pertain to that. It is something, though, that the public would want to know because it is quite salacious.
Mm-hmm. And I hear what you're saying, the likelihood of this actually making it into a courtroom. But let's play the what if game for just a second. We both know the public attention on this case from the very beginning was through the roof. So how complicated would it be to seat a jury in this case? Talk about the process if it were to come to that.
You know, Marnie, I've had a lot of high-profile cases in my jurisdiction, and we've never had a real problem seating an impartial jury. It's not whether the jurors have heard about the case, it's whether they could be fair and impartial. And you'd be surprised how even people who know about this case could say, I'm going to put aside my biases and I can be impartial. And in the end, if they can't, they could move it out of Sarasota County. But I think if this goes to trial, and that's a big if, they could find an impartial jury.
Well, you know, we'll be following it closely as always. Dave, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marnie.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.